long story short,
let's do a quick recap on what has happened in the last couple of days. So Monday, we were supposed to leave Monday, June the 22nd. That didn't happen because we were doing some aesthetic modifications. You were putting that wood floor in, and then the generator wasn't running properly.
right, so
We got really lucky because we took the camper to a place close to us, Happy Camper, and they were full, and they really always run full. They're usually a month out doing repair.
Like all the big RV shops, in the summer, they never, you have to wait 2, 3, 4 weeks to get in, but
They took us.
we had an appointment that I had canceled, so that was scheduled for that Monday, so we got lucky.
But it wasn't for the generator, it was
No,
for
it's
the
for
battery compartment that you had rebuilt
Yeah.
with an independent welder.
Yeah.
So they took it and we got it back Monday, which was a miracle. And we were able to leave Tuesday morning later than we wanted to. We didn't leave till 9:30, but we got on the road and everything went great Tuesday, but we had a really long day of driving, and then Wednesday everything went great and we had a really long day of driving, and we left Jennifer's house and we found that awesome car wash. Truck wash.
Truck wash. Mm-hmm.
5-star truck wash in Nebraska. It was unbelievable. They did a great job. And then when we were there, you checked the transmission fluid and it was a little bit low.
Yeah.
So
we stopped and I got some tranny fluid and added half a quart, brought it up to mid-level of where it's supposed to be. And then we drove about 100 miles up into the Dakotas, up into South Dakota. And it was 95 degrees out. I was running hard, trying to make some time so we could get up to our first real tourist destination, which was going to be the Porter Sculpture Garden. And when we got to pulling and approaching Freeman, South Dakota, the overdrive indicator light on the shifter started blinking. It's a Ford V10 and connected to an E4 overdrive transmission, and that indicator light is a warning that the computer sensed a transmission failure. So we pulled over as quickly as we could, maybe a quarter mile down the road, and ironically pulled into the Total Stop gas station.
where we were totally stopped.
I hopped out, took a look underneath, and it was like pouring milk out of a container. The transmission fluid was coming out of there. Put it in drive and limped out into a little parking spot. And,
Right, not in front of the gas pumps.
100 feet away from the gas pumps, and then shut her down and thought we were dead in the water. Transmission problems usually are a pretty major leak.
So I stopped filming at that point because it was extremely stressful situation, but I ironically have video because there was a major storm in front of us and I was hoping to catch some lightning of like when we were actually, you're saying something's wrong and we're pulling into that service station, the Total Stop. But we have we had really great news the next morning. You found,
So that night I sat there for about an hour trying to figure out my next move and what we could do if we were disabled for a long period of time while a transmission was being rebuilt or repaired or replaced.
It was a Friday that happened, Friday morning.
Friday at 7 p.m.
No, Thursday night at 7 p.m. So this Friday morning, we know that all the service stations, they can't get a part on a Friday.
Any repair shop, I thought, we'd at least be there for 3 days. So first thing to do was try to find a mechanic. So I, of course, used Google and found Specialty Automotive, who very fortunately was 2,000 feet away from where we were broken down. And of course they were closed. It was 7 p.m. on a Thursday, so I started making other plans for what we were gonna do for the next few days. Rent a car.
Because we had reservations to be here in the Badlands Friday night.
Yeah.
And we had reservations to be at Mount Rushmore on Saturday night, and we were already running a day behind as far as our 30-day adventure went.
Yeah.
So you found that awesome hotel, and you called, and you booked it
yeah.
for 4 nights just in case.
Right. So.
And then you were at the service station for 7 a.m. in the morning when they opened up, and they got us right in. And miracle happened, and they had to part because it's pretty common.
Yeah. So the other very fortunate thing was that the service station was 2,000 feet away from us, and the hotel was 2,200 feet away, right next door to the service station, the service repair shop. They're a heavy truck and farm, and they do automotive too, but their specialty just happened to be transmissions and drivetrains. So at 8 o'clock, they actually opened at 8. I walked over there a little bit early, chomping at the bit to find out if they could help us. And Gerald rode up on his bicycle, an older gentleman that worked at the shop. I said, "Hey, Gerald, do you work here?" And he said, "Sometimes." And we chatted for about 10 minutes, and he eased my mind that it was most likely a seal between the transmission and the bell housing that is notorious in these E405 transmissions to, when it gets too hot, it just melts out and everything runs out. So that was about 7:45, so I had to stand by for 15 minutes for the boss to show up, the service manager, Eric. And long story short, within 10 minutes, Eric assured me that he could take care of me, provided there was no internal damage. They actually had the part in their supply, because it's a common problem for that transmission, and there's a lot of people running Fords with the V10 up here. So I walked back. It's a 10-minute walk back to the RV. Got the family together and got the RV ready to move. Eric, I had already arranged for a tow for the roadside assistance early that morning, figuring I'd get ahead of the game because that takes a long time. And Eric said, "Go ahead and cancel the tow. We're going to bring a truck down there and strap it to you, and we're going to pull you down," because it was, like I said, less than a half a mile. So that was a beautiful thing too. And within...
Yeah, they jumped in the camper, and he drove it out of there. It was awesome.
Yeah, Simon and Taylor came down and put a tow strap underneath it, and Simon hopped in, and we got pulled down the road. And that was approximately 9 a.m. by the time we got into the garage. Mm-hmm. And by 4 o'clock, with lunch, an hour lunch break, they couldn't lift it because the vehicle's a little too big for their shop to lift. So they put it up on ramps and dropped the transmission, replaced the bad seal, put the transmission back in, also serviced the transmission, the filter, and they took it for a 20-mile test drive while we hung tight, and then they came back and they said we were on our way. I almost broke down crying. It was such a beautiful thing.
I know, it was crazy because we really weren't expecting, like, when you called that hotel, who was also, they were so great. We
had a beautiful room to just relax in all day. I mean, as bad as it could have been, we could have been there for a week or longer and out thousands of dollars, and
And in the end, the repair was around $800.
Yeah, for under $1,000 with the hotel room that we just stayed in for the day.
But we were all really happy to do that because
Oh, yeah.
In the camper we have a
You-
shower, I know, but we don't have a tub, and
Right.
it's really hard for girls to shave their legs and wash their hair. And so whenever we have the opportunity to stop in with a friend, always jump in their bathtub as fast as I can without being rude and wash my hair and shave my legs. And we hadn't had any internet for the beginning part of this trip, and so I was able to bathe, wash my hair, shave my legs, and then start uploading all of our videos, which took me from the 10 o'clock until the 4. I was running out the door with the computer in my hand. You guys were ready to go.
Yep.
So that was awesome, right?
Yeah, so that was pretty much it. And so we were down from 7 p.m. Thursday, and we were on the road after a major transmission failure at 4:30 p.m. on Friday. It was
The last thing
pretty
you said
extraordinary.
to me before you walked down there, you said, start sending out that positive energy and do that thing that you do. And so when I sat to meditate, I said, it's only going to be a seal, and we're going to be out of here by this afternoon. And I don't know the first thing about cars, but that kept coming to me, that it's only going to be a seal, it's just a leak, and that it can be fixed, and that we're going to be out of here. And I was so excited when you said that that's what it was, because that's what I was feeling, and it really sat well with me that everything was going to be fine. And so nobody panicked either. We didn't panic.
We just had to.
We did go into shutdown mode, though.
Yeah,
It's just
everybody
best for
got
everybody to be
a
quiet.
little quiet, and like I said, I booked the hotel for 3 days because it was a Friday. I thought for sure they'd have to bring a part in at least, and maybe that wouldn't happen Friday, and we wouldn't even get into the shop till Monday, and then it could be multiple days. So what could have been a week delay turned into less than 24 hours, and we have a generator that's been serviced right before we left. We have transmission now that's been checked over. There was no damage to to any of the interior components of the tranny, and we're good to go. We got 5,000 miles to go. We're about 1,500 miles into the trip.
So our camper is a 1997, and but it fits us perfect.
26 foot. It's in, very good to almost excellent condition. It was well taken care of before we got it. Did a lot of work to it over the first couple years of owning it. This is about the 5th year we've had it. Did the rear brakes complete, new brake system and lines. Did the front brakes right before we left, new calipers and rotors and bearings. With the tranny being freshly done or serviced, and the generator is good to go, and the engine is running like a clock, knock on wood.
Yep, everything's going great.
We're going down the road like we're riding on a cloud. Loving it. So that's it for now.